Rock Hudson didn't have the easiest childhood. He was born Roy Scherer Jr. in Winnetka, Illinois on November 17, 1925. His mother was a homemaker who later worked as a telephone operator, and his father was a mechanic. From the beginning, young Roy didn't have a stable family life. His father, Roy Sr., would eventually abandon the family. His mother, Catherine, later married a man named Wallace Fitzgerald, who was physically abusive. Young Roy was even abused by his stepfather when he stated he wanted to be an actor. So, from a young age, he realized he'd have to hide who he truly was. Despite his stepfather's constant berating and mocking of his dreams, young Roy couldn't think of being anything else but an actor. He knew he had the talent and he could become a huge star one day. During his high school years, he worked as an usher in a movie theater and developed an even greater passion for cinema. He auditioned for many of his school's plays, yet never landed a role because he had difficulty remembering his lines. Roy served in the Navy during World War II. Upon returning from his duties, he decided it was now time to pursue his acting career. The fact he had difficulty remembering lines wasn't going to hold him back. He moved to LA and found a job as a truck driver to pay his bills. During his free time, he tried to meet with agents and casting directors to try to land whatever film roles he could. He faced rejection after rejection, as did thousands of other men who came to LA to fulfill their dreams. Then in 1947, Roy came across an agent named Henry Wilson, who helped young and handsome men land roles in Hollywood films. Roy was 6'4" and had a sex appeal that was made for the big screen. It was Henry Wilson who told Roy he needed a screen name. He combined the Rock of Gibraltar and the Hudson River to transform Roy into Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson worked hard to prepare his personality for the screen. He had voice coaches help him deepen his voice, and he exercised to develop the beefcake look that was in fashion at the time. Before he knew it, he was landing roles in films. His earliest work included bit parts in films such as I Was a Shoplifter, Winchester 73, and Tomahawk. It wasn't long till he was playing bigger roles in bigger films, such as Back to God's Country, Magnificent Obsession, and Giant. It was Magnificent Obsession that helped launch Rock Hudson to stardom. Audiences became enamored of his acting chops and on-screen presence. But it wasn't just his talent and looks that were talked about. From an early age, Rock Hudson's sexuality was under scrutiny. In fact, there were even rumors he might have had a relationship with his agent, Henry Wilson. During this era, homosexual relations were still criminalized through most of the country. Yet Henry Wilson didn't do much to hide his own sexuality. The agent was frequently spotted at gay bars, and there were rumors the actors he had represented had relations with him. Rock Hudson did reveal his homosexuality to his closest friends, but kept it a secret from the public. Whenever journalists would ask him about his relationships, he would often try to avoid, divert, or make jokes in response. But as he approached his 30s, the scrutiny became much worse. Audience members and journalists alike couldn't fathom how a handsome star could still be single in his 30s. The speculation about his sexuality continued, and Rock feared he wouldn't be able to hide it. He attempted to dispel rumors he was gay. He had arranged dates with many starlets. He felt that if the press photographed him with enough beautiful actresses, the rumors would die down. But the dates with starlets didn't seem to do much. There was a tabloid called Confidential that wished to out Rock Hudson. Henry Wilson was afraid his outing would destroy his career. By this point, Rock was easily Henry's most popular star. Henry Wilson opted to give information on some other stars in exchange for Confidential deciding not to run a story about Rock Hudson's sexuality. In 1955, Rock appeared in the film Giant, which became his best-known film. He was also nominated for an Oscar for his performance. It was after the release of Giant that he married Phyllis Gates, who was Henry Wilson's secretary. Many people were shocked by the marriage, and it seemed the rumors about his sexuality would die down. The marriage, however, didn't last, and they divorced after 3 years. There were rumors the marriage only happened to dispel the homosexuality rumors. It was also believed it was arranged by Henry Wilson. Shortly after the marriage ended, Rock also ended his working relationship with Wilson. Towards the end of the 60s, Rock was no longer landing roles as the leading man. He was now in his 40s and had to find new roles to remain relevant. He began focusing his attention on television and only doing film work on occasion. One of his most notable roles at the time was as Stuart McMillan in the 1970s TV series McMillan and Wife. During this decade, many young Americans began to move away from their conservative upbringing and embraced a more free-spirited approach to life. It was during this time when people were more open about their sexuality, and it was the start of the gay rights movement. Nevertheless, Rock Hudson still tried to conceal his sexuality from the public. There were close friends of Rock's who tried to convince him to come out of the closet, but he would dismiss their suggestions, perhaps out of fear that it would end his career. While Rock Hudson was no longer a huge star as in his youth, he was still a working actor. He received regular work in TV, and his career was going well. In the 1980s, however, he began to experience several health problems. He had to undergo heart surgery that came about from years of smoking and drinking. In 1984, he attended a state dinner at the White House. He'd been personally invited by Ronald Reagan, whom he knew from the president's acting days. It was at this state dinner that many guests began noticing his poor health. A few weeks following the state dinner, Rock Hudson learned he was HIV positive. This was at the height of the AIDS pandemic, and it was believed at the time that only homosexuals could contract the illness. As a result, there was a heightened sense of prejudice towards homosexuals. This wasn't the time for Rock Hudson to come out at all. Anyone who had the disease would be subject to scrutiny, scorn, and even abandonment by their loved ones. As with his homosexuality, Rock decided to keep his illness a secret from the public. He only told a few close friends. He continued to work, but as the years progressed, the illness was taking its toll. He traveled to France to seek treatment for his illness. Upon arriving there, he collapsed and was admitted to a hospital. His hospitalization became a major news story around the world, and his publicist stated the star was suffering from cancer. But Rock Hudson decided he couldn't keep hiding the truth anymore. He revealed he was suffering from AIDS. He didn't state he was gay, but he knew everyone would draw that conclusion. He feared he'd receive a lot of disdain for his admission, but it was after his admission that we all realized what a beloved star he was. He received thousands of letters from fans around the world. His admission also made people around the world talk about the seriousness of AIDS. To this day, Rock Hudson's admission of his illness is believed to have sparked the discussion of the illness. Randy Shilts, who authored the book And the Band Played On, stated, quote, "There was AIDS before Rock Hudson and AIDS after." Rock died October 2, 1985, at age 59. Though his life was short and often troubled, he'll always be remembered as one of Hollywood's greatest actors. His life is an inspiration to anyone. It taught us to continue to strive no matter what challenges stand in your way. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think if Rock lived in today's era, his personal life would not be held up to intense scrutiny? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts Verse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.